Hi everyone, my name is Laila. I'm here on behalf of, as a member of Community Rights Groundwork. We are a support organization that provides resources to communities looking to write locally enforceable bans on corporate projects or governmental trespass in their communities. We also offer support and resources to communities that wish to strengthen the practice of democracy. We're not that experienced in the practice of democracy, you may or may not realize. Democracy is not just voting once every couple of years or months, as the case may be. So I am really excited to be a part of this coalition to ban frac sand mining. I'm very pleased that the discussion is about banning and not about regulating. Regulations don't work, as we all know. Who here drove the speed limit to get here? Not me. Maybe a few of us, but you are outstanding citizens, and I'm not sure that the so-called corporate citizens care as much about the regulations as you do about the speed limit. And in my mind, it's not really about parts per million or microns or half-life of chemical flocculants or the distance from a grade school or the tons of sand removed. Those are all details. Those are all symptoms. Frac sand mining is a symptom of a larger problem, which I believe is a crisis in our democracy. What this is really about is about protecting our rights to health and welfare, our rights to sustainable livelihood, and our right to decide what happens where we live. If we continue to argue with industry and political and financial leaders on their terms, in the terms of scientific safety or financial capabilities, if we continue to argue about profits and these, things that can only be verified in a laboratory, we are playing into the hands of those people. We are giving our agency to them. We are allowing them to decide the terms of the decisions. For example, I've been talking to a woman in Illinois, and they're trying to stop a frac sand mine down there, and they filed a suit in court to deny the permit for a frac sand mine, and the judge said, no, this is denied, the permit will be granted because you can't prove that this mine is any worse than any existing mine. That's the logic that we're talking about. It's not human logic. It's not logic about the value of hills. It's not logic about the peace of the night. It's not values about, the quietness of a country road. We're talking about things that are beyond our ability to make decisions. And I'd like to actually say thank you to the people at this conference for identifying themselves as what they are, which is industry insiders. Thank you, frac sand insiders. They're telling us a lot about how they think about themselves. They're inside the halls of power. They're inside the rooms where decisions get made. They're the insiders. And what are we? We're just outside on the sidewalk. We're not allowed in those rooms to make those decisions. That's how they think of us. We need to come to terms with that. Right. We know that they're outsiders. We know that we're the real insiders. They're the outsiders. They're willing to turn the places where we live into sacrifice zones. Look at the places around the world and in our own country where extractive practices are happening. Look at Appalachia. Look at the Iron Mountains in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Look at Pennsylvania and New York where fracking is happening. This is not a game. The outcomes of these practices are destructive and deadly, and the effects last for generations. This is not a back and forth, who's got the best speaker, what is Isaac Orr going to tell us. I read a wonderful article about him about how frac sand mining is going to help us all fall in love, because without the money that we will make from frac sand mining, we won't be able to take our future wife out on a date. Sick. I'd like to turn for a moment to the opening words of the state constitutions of both Wisconsin and Minneapolis. Oh, why did I say Minneapolis? Minnesota. Sorry. Apologies, Minnesotans. The first words of the Wisconsin State Constitution go along the lines of government is instituted for the protections of the rights of people. Among these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the power of government derives its just power from the consent of the governed. That's us. That's our consent they're talking about. The Minnesota State Constitution opens with the object of government. Government is instituted for the security, benefit, and protection of the people, in whom all political power is inherent. Together with that political power is the right to alter, modify, or reform the government whenever it is required by the public good. Those are very powerful words. That is a very big promise. That is the object of our governments. We should keep that in mind when we're just talking to our elected officials, our representatives, whose job is not, as Governor Scott Walker seems to think, to tell us from on high what our communities can and cannot do vis-a-vis frac sand mining, but rather to represent our will, the will of the people.
Yeah.
This attitude whereby we beg and plead to our elected officials and ask them please to do what we would like is a gross misunderstanding of the inherent nature of our political power and the truth of democracy. Even if these words at the beginning of the constitutions didn't exist, the truth of our political power is still true. Those words are a symbol of an inherent reality. We are powerful. It is us that has the right to make these decisions.
Right. That's right.
I think it's true. I think it's really true. I learned yesterday that in Minnesota, the case seems to be that writing a ban on frac sand mining would be construed as legal under state law. I certainly hope that that remains the case. But as we know, there's a lot of industry insiders who are inside the halls of government who will work very diligently to make sure that those laws go away. And when laws are made by people who don't care much about justice, then the people who care about justice need to work to make laws that represent it. We can't rely on those others to represent us if they're not doing it. Right. We need to make sure that our elected officials understand that if they start making laws that take away our right to decide what happens where we live, they will not be harming us. They will be delegitimizing themselves.
Right.
Those laws will not be worthy of our consent, and we will not consent to them. We will instead write local laws that represent our will, that we can be proud to consent to, that do represent our dignity. I hope I've made clear that the legal reality of banning frac sand mining may be difficult. The laws that exist now that protect that right may change. But if they do, then the mandate for banning the frac sand mining and banning any other violation of our communities and our natural environment, the mandate will only be stronger. We will only continue to push against it. Because after all, if we can make laws at the local level about things that affect us, gathered in a body politic, then we will have achieved democracy, and environmental justice, social justice, financial justice will all be much more likely to happen because we, the people, will be making the decisions. And until such point, when outsider insiders make decisions and force them upon us and dictate what will happen to our land and our future, then we live in imperialism and colonialism, and it is our right and our duty and my personal pride to fight against that with all my might. Thank you everyone for being here. It's very inspiring.